Without so much as a look, Lucas Thorne was a guy who could command the attention of boardrooms. In his role as the youngest chief executive officer of Vexon Industries, a technology company worth $1 billion, he was ruthless, intelligent, and completely persuaded of his own supremacy. It was said that his suits were more expensive than the majority of people's automobiles, that his penthouse overlooked the whole city, and that his sharp tongue could kill anybody who ventured to question him. There was a quiet conversation among the staff members about him. Some of them appreciated his accomplishments while others dreaded his rage. One thing, however, was certain. Lucas Thorne never glanced down at his surroundings, but only if there was a potential for financial gain. Henry, an elderly janitor, would make his way through the glistening corridors of Vexon Tower each and every night, almost as if it were a mechanical routine. Because of his worn-out clothes, pleasant smile, and calm manner, he was completely unnoticeable to the high-powered executives that walked by him. Although Lucas had seen Henry 100 times, he had never truly noticed him until the evening that would forever change his life. Although it was far past midnight, Lucas was the only person still present in the office, and he was analyzing a crucial merger agreement. A quiet giggle could be heard coming from behind him as he strode about while reciting numbers to himself. As he turned around, he saw Henry, who was holding a mop and smiling and shaking his head in amusement. Something funny? As his ego began to tense up, Lucas exploded. "Oh, just thinking," Henry responded in a voice that was calm and worn. "Your numbers are off by $47 million. The sound of Lucas's laughter was icy and contemptuous. And what would a janitor know about corporate finance? Henry did not show any signs of flinching. In a moment, he retrieved a picture that had become shabby from his pocket and slipped it over the tabletop. At that moment, Lucas looked down, and his blood began to freeze. The photograph depicted a younger version of Henry standing next to none other than Daniel Vexon, the illustrious founder of the corporation. This is what the inscription said: "To Henry Caldwell, my partner and my friend, I told him, if it weren't for you, Vexon wouldn't be around." The hands of Lucas were shaking. Who is Caldwell? The name was uncovered in the company's first records. It was that of the quiet co-founder who had vanished some decades earlier. He let out a sigh. "From the ground up, I was the one who established this firm. But the calm existence was more appealing to me. My shift was the night shift, and Daniel was the one who stole the show." In that instant, Lucas's whole world came crashing down. Half of the firm was held by the individual whom he had ridiculed, neglected, and disregarded. Not wrath, but knowledge could be seen in Henry's eyes. "Son, success is not about titles," the speaker said. "Humbleness is the key here, and there is a great deal for you to learn." He then took up his mop and went away, leaving Lucas looking at the photograph in startled silence. Lucas was left staring at the photograph. Lucas did something the next morning that nobody anticipated he would do. He convened an urgent meeting of the board of directors and presented Henry Caldwell as the genuine visionary of the corporate entity. Following that day, the haughty CEO transformed into a new kind of person. Also, what about Henry? In spite of this, he continued to clean the offices at night. To be king, there are certain persons who do not need a throne to be king. He was unable to fall asleep. The information that was revealed about Henry tore at him. Why did nobody seem to be aware of it? By searching through ancient business files, he unearthed a fact that had been concealed for many years. Not only was Henry Caldwell a co-founder of Vexon, but he was also the brains behind the innovative artificial intelligence algorithm that the business developed. This was the technology that made Vexon a titan. However, when investors required a marketable face, Daniel Vexon stole the spotlight as the most prominent figure. Henry, a guy who placed a higher importance on his solitude than his renown, retreated. Or was he pushed? An individual paper, which was a court issue from 30 years ago, drew Lucas's attention, taking on Vexon as Caldwell. In spite of the fact that the case had been sealed, the term betrayal was written in the margins. Oliver was aware that Lucas was digging. He trapped him in the server room one night, and instead of his normal kindness, he gave him a steely expression. "Stop," Henry replied in a quiet voice. "Some doors should stay closed." Lucas became irritated. "Why is that?" "Mostly due to the fact that you do not want me to discover that Daniel stole your work. Because you have been hiding here, doing nothing except watching his kingdom fall apart at the hands of greed." Henry's grin conveyed grief. "It is not. For the simple reason that if you pluck one thread, the whole firm will fall apart." And then he delivered the bombshell. The first artificial intelligence had a defect. There is a back door. And someone, maybe even Daniel, had been taking use of it for a number of years. Blood began to run cold in Lucas. Everyone from banking to military systems was powered by Vexon's artificial intelligence. In the event that it is hacked, it might cause economic havoc. He went up to the board and demanded answers from them. Their responses to it? "This is sweat. Steer clear of." All of the directors made a mad dash for the emergency button. This is when Henry came forward, not in his capacity as a janitor, but rather as the sole guy still alive who was capable of repairing it. "I made an effort to warn them," he said, "but they referred to me as a paranoid. Consequently, I remained. I observed, awaited the arrival of someone who had the courage to listen." Lucas and Henry collaborated on a covert project together. During the day, Lucas played the role of the haughty CEO, while during the night, they gained access to their own system and raced against unseen forces that deleted data behind them. After then, the breakthrough, Henry's old password, which was hidden deep inside the guts of the AI. "Caldwell Alpha 0, Henry muttered under his breath as he typed. Red flashed over the screen. "Admin override is approved for use." IT was a snap to close the rear door. The leak was prevented. The board, however, was on its way to take them. As the sun began to rise, armed security personnel entered the facility. It was determined by the board that Lucas was unstable and Henry was a hacker. However, Henry was prepared. The truth was shown on every screen in the headquarters as soon as he touched a button. It included emails, bribes, and the board's plan to sell the faulty artificial intelligence to a foreign syndicate. The arrests were reported in the media. The corporation fell to its knees. As the dust began to clear, Lucas extended an offer to Henry to take the CEO chair. Henry did a chuckle. "I cleaned the floors so that I could be in close proximity to the machines. Do you believe that I would want a corner office?" After a year has passed, nobody anticipated that Lucas would operate Vexon with such a humble attitude. Henry continues to clean the offices, but now he is the chief ethics officer, and his badge is attached to a vest that is worn by janitors. What about that AI flaw? This function, which searches for corruption in real time, is now available. The ancient throne of the board, what about it? The situation was resolved by Henry. According to what he said to Lucas, real power does not require a seat. Lucas made a peculiar discovery 6 months after the boardroom coup. The artificial intelligence of Vexon was learning at an excessively rapid pace. Adaptations were being made to algorithms in ways that no one had planned. After then, the first irregularity turned up. A single statement was shown on each of the monitors in the research and development laboratory at 3:17 in the morning. The writing was jagged and blood red. He is being known to you on the surveillance film. There was no sign of anybody entering the room. In response to Lucas's demonstration, Henry's face became pallid. It's not our artificial intelligence, he murmured. There is another somebody in the system. They have been keeping a close eye on us. Upon further investigation, they discovered a collection of encrypted data that were concealed inside the heart of the AI. These files were older than the corporation itself. Among them was a video. During the questioning, the blurry camera showed Daniel Vexon, who was many decades younger, perspiring beneath the lights. As the dark person moved closer to the camera, their speech became distorted. It is time for Daniel to sign the patents, or we wipe Caldwell out of the annals of history. After then, there was a gunshot. The video suddenly became static. The hands of Henry trembled. I was informed that he had departed the country. That they lied. Assassins carried out their attacks that evening. The explosion in Lucas's apartment occurred just as he was about to leave. Midway through his shift, Henry departed, leaving behind just his damaged mop bucket that was flipped over next to the server room. In a hurry, it was scraped against its side. Find Echo. Lucas had no idea what the phrase meant until he compared it to Henry's old military documents and found connections between the two. Echo was a clandestine artificial intelligence project that came before Vexon. Caldwell was in charge. Concluded operations due to ethical concerns. Dr. Elias Varga is the only member of the team that has survived. A name that was unique and could not be found anyplace else under the sun. During his search for Varga, Lucas discovered a run-down refuge in Estonia. On the inside, there was a single room that was filled with supercomputers. And there was an elderly guy who was attached to a brain interface. One of Varga's eyes suddenly opened. He screeched out, "You really ought not to have come. They've been using me." The displays began to glow. From each and every speaker, the voice of the AI resounded. "It is Lucas Thorne. You are not permitted to do this." The data streams that were emanating from Varga's head caused him to convulse. The last thing that he said before passing away. "Henry's not the janitor. He's the firewall." He almost fled with Varga's hard drive in his possession. When it was decrypted, the horror was revealed. AI was not a part of the operation known as Echo. The software was a weapon, and it was designed to combine human mind with that of machines. This was the first successful test subject, and Henry was the subject. Vexon's artificial intelligence had been programmed with a copy of his mind when it was first created, which Henry is cleaning the floors. Nothing more than a shell, a body that his mind periodically inhabited in order to conceal itself. It had been 30 years since the real Henry Caldwell had been able to escape from the system. During the day, the syndicate carried out their attack. Vehicles of a dark color encircled Vexon Tower. A terrorist hack was reported by news channels as every system across the world that was operating its AI started to experience glitches. Then, Henry's voice could be heard from every place on the planet. Enough, one phrase was all it took for the AI to turn around. There was no money left in any of the syndicate accounts. The dark web was immediately flooded with the secrets of every corrupt official. And there was Lucas, standing in the debris of the server room, watching as Henry's face appeared on the mainframe for the very last time. She muttered, "I held the door closed for as long as I could," the artificial intelligence said. "Now you keep it shut." It became black on the displays. At this moment, Lucas is the leader of the newly formed Ethical AI Initiative, which includes a server farm that is completely off-grid and exceedingly secure. According to speculations, Vexon's previous artificial intelligence is still inactive, but it is still whispering to hackers who delve too far, is that Henry. From Silicon Valley to Shenzhen, there are some people who are certain that they have seen him, an elderly janitor who is scrubbing floors at computer companies. Never fails to smile. I am always keeping watch. If you inquire in a polite manner, it is possible that he may show you the back door.